Hey guys, we're live. We did it.
Hey, they can't see me, right?
They can't see, but they could hear you right now.
Hi, guys.
We'll give everybody a few minutes to hop on. How is everybody? Don't answer with your voice. Hey guys, I miss all of your faces. Also, bear with me. It looks like there's a significant delay in the video, so your chat is coming through a little slow. That's technology. We'll probably give it another 2 minutes before we get started. Lillian, I know. We thought about doing Zoom. We weren't sure how to really manage it if people wanted to start talking and that sort of a thing, but definitely always open to suggestions and, would be open to trying different things. So I don't know. Have you guys been to other online meetups? Did they do Zoom? There's a mute all button. Imagine if I did that when somebody was talking. Just mute them. No. Oh yeah, Esther would know. You've probably been to a few, right? Yeah. It would be great to see all of you guys' faces for sure. Miss you all. Most
I miss
Zoom.
you guys too.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Yeah, the networking part we miss so much. Okay, let's get started here. So, Jersey Shore Women in Tech, for those of you that don't know, we started about 2.5 years ago. And we really started because Alice and I were 2 women in tech for the past 10 years in the area, and we didn't know any other women in tech, and we really wanted to get to know our community a little bit. We had been going to a lot of the other tech events in the area and just didn't find a consistent, there was 1 or 2, but we didn't see a consistent amount of women coming through, and we really wanted to build that network in our community. So when we had our first event and people showed up, we realized that we weren't the only ones that felt this way. And so we decided that as long as everybody was coming, we were going to continue having them and support you guys in any way that we can. Always open to suggestions. If you guys know us, we're totally approachable and love to hear all of your guys' suggestions. And then last year, we actually took on Jenna Gaudio as our executive director. For those of you that have been with us from the very beginning, she was actually our very first speaker. So she's been just our #1 support from the beginning. So it just made sense to bring her onto the team, and we've been better for it. So this is us. Jenna Gaudio actually just got a promotion, so congratulations, Jenna. She's the Senior Vice President of Operations now at Vidya. And Allison Lamano is my co-founder. She's a product management lead at Define Logic over in Red Bank. And I am Brittany Jacobs, Software Engineering Manager over at Vidya as well. For those of you that don't know, you can follow us on any of the major social media accounts. This is everything. Any one of these, you can just type in Jersey Shore Women in Tech. You'll find us. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We also have a private Facebook group. Please join. It is, not public. So if you want to post something about, wanting a job or anything like that, it's not public, so you can feel free to do that. But anything. If you're looking for a job, if you have a job that's available at your place, celebrations. Jenna, we should have posted for you recently. So much going on, but love to celebrate you guys. Also, any other relevant meetups, classes, workshops, articles, relevant blogs, somebody you think might be a great speaker, anything like that, asking for advice. So it's a really, really great group, super, super supportive. Definitely, we've had success with people hooking up with jobs, so that's been really great. Also, as I was saying, we're always looking for speakers. So if you're interested in speaking, you could go over to jerseyshorewomensintech.com and fill out our application. And sending girls to coding camp. So for those that don't know, last year we had an awesome initiative where we raised $5,000 to send girls from Asbury Park High School to robotics and coding camp. We sent 4 girls last year. They had an absolute blast. And then we ended up getting them tickets to Asbury Agile as well, which was really, really cool. So we're doing that again this year. Things kind of came to a halt because of the COVID thing. They're obviously not doing in-person classes anymore. So we are trying to work out with the owner of the school how we can possibly get them the technology to use at home and do classes online and that sort of a thing. But we promise we'll figure it out. We want to get more girls, especially in the underserved communities, into coding and robotics. So any help is greatly appreciated. We also take sponsorship. So if your company is interested in donating, we would help promote them as well. We also would not be able to exist without our awesome sponsors. So that's Coworks and Vidya. Coworks is where we normally have our meetups out of. It's an awesome co-working space. They're at the Lake House building in Asbury. They have lots of the office amenities, private phone booth. I'm sure they're probably not using a lot of it right now because of COVID. But normally they have, printer in the kitchen and coffee and all of that good stuff. Also private office space. They have a second location of private office space that's by above High Voltage Cafe. And they actually just opened a new one in Red Bank right before the whole COVID thing happened. So hopefully they'll be able to start getting, people into that and filling that space up as well. But of course, just head to coworks.com with an E, and you'll be able to find out all of the information. But I used to work out of there. It's an awesome, awesome community. Vidya is where Jenna and I actually work. It's a music and media tech company, and it's located in Bellworks in Homedale. Of course, we're all working from home right now. But Vidya powers the business of music labels and media companies through an all-in-on platform that allows users to manage content, rights, payments, and view reportings and analytics and revenue. So we're actually looking to hire senior data engineer, rights management specialist, and client success manager. And new stuff is popping up all the time. If you're anywhere in the music or tech or rights management, space, definitely reach out. And without further ado, let's see. You have to exit out of this. Alrighty, I want to introduce Jessica Naziri. She is an on-air digital lifestyle expert, writer, video host, content strategist, and entrepreneur. She's founder of Tech Sesh, which is a community and sisterhood for young women in tech. She started as a tech journalist, and now she has her own company. Her work has been featured everywhere: CBS, TechCrunch, Washington Post, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She now consults with major technology brands, including Google, Intel, Dell, Samsung. She creates online content, mobile marketing strategy, videos, and social media. And if you follow her on social like I do, you'll see her pop up on news channels all the time as an expert in her field, introducing new technologies and that sort of a thing, which is really, really cool. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you for having me. We did not pay you enough for reading that line by line, so thank you.
I didn't want to leave anything out because you are just like what don't you do?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So just a little background. I actually learned about Jessica because she was in Inc. magazine's 30 Inspirational Women to Watch in Tech back in 2017. And I, of course, scoured this list and like dug into all of these women. I wanted to see what they were about, read their LinkedIns, that sort of a thing. And there was, so many amazing women on it. I encourage you all to like look it up and follow all these people. But Jessica really stood out to me because her content was really fun. She was fun and colorful, and it wasn't in a way that was like pink washing. For those of you that don't know that term, pink washing is when we make things pink in order to attract women. But it wasn't that. It was very, very authentic, and it was just fun, and you could tell she was passionate about technology. So there was that part of it. There was the part where I saw how much she has really dedicated her entire career to helping women in tech and demystifying technology, making it more accessible to the average person. And then the thing that fascinated me the most was the fact that she was in the public eye. And I feel like that's so rare for women, especially in technology, because we all have that imposter syndrome thing. So it was really, really interesting to me that she was not only willing to get up and talk in front of her peers about it, but she was able to talk about technology in front of the nation on TV without even like an actual, background in tech that I know from LinkedIn. But we're going to actually dive in deeper with her and find out a little bit more. So, Jessica, can you give us a brief timeline of your career? Like, how did you start? Like, where did this all happen?
Absolutely. Again, thank you for that intro. Thank you. That really means so much to me. And really, hearing all that, it just takes me through like the years and years that I've been doing this. So I will give you guys the short version of it. I graduated USC and I moved to New York, and I started covering the stock market in Farsi. I speak Farsi fluently. I'm first generation American, and my goal had always been move to New York and work as a foreign correspondent. Oh. So it wasn't exactly that, my first job going into news. I was reporting on the stock market, talking about, all these Wall Street companies, valuation, things I really knew nothing about. And I actually didn't know how to read Farsi, but I wrote it out in English. So I really, really just wanted to live in New York, and I knew I had to do things to get to the point that I would be in terms of becoming a foreign correspondent. And then I got a job at CNN reporting, again, on the stock market. And slowly I was doing more breaking news, and I knew that I would have to take different paths to get to where I wanted to be. And I met my longtime hero, Christiane Amanpour. Do you know her by any chance?
No, I'm taking notes though. I'm going to go back and watch this.
I'm aware of her. She's a very well-known journalist. But unfortunately, I played her out to be this hero, this person that would just show me the ropes. And when I met her, it wasn't really like that. Oh. In a sense, I slowly saw that this whole dream that I had of being a foreign correspondent, in a sense, was shattered, because during that time also, there was the Arab Spring, and unfortunately a few journalists had gotten raped. And I'm like, wow, like this is not what I want to do. This is not the type of job that I'm going into. What I really wanted to do, what I thought I would do as a foreign correspondent, is tell the stories of the people that didn't necessarily have a voice. You know, as a first generation American, this was so important to me. But I slowly realized, okay, this is not the beat that I wanted to cover. And in journalism, beat is the expertise. And so it kind of drifted away from that. And as a young, hungry reporter, I kept on asking to do more. So then I was on the breaking news side. Then I was on the business side. And the business side really opened me to different stories. It opened up my eyes to a lot of immigrants and the businesses that they've created, and how technology was sort of allowing people to do more. At that time, it wasn't so big yet, but slowly as I, I've been in journalism for about 12 years now. Slowly you see that technology was getting better and better and better, and it was stories you would hear about. So fast forward, after CNN, I went to CNBC, and again, like a really, really hungry, young and hungry reporter, I would raise my hand to do anything and cover every story. And I remember at the time, my editor had asked, who wants to cover this tech story? And I raised my hand and I said, I will. And ever since then, I've been covering technology. And you've seen through the years, technology is interlaced in everything that we do. Most companies are now tech companies, and they may not even know it. Right. For example, Jack in the Box says that they're a tech company that happens to sell burgers and fries. So it's interesting how much technology has evolved and how we use it for everything that we do now. And so from CNBC, I then moved back to Los Angeles, where I'm from, and I got a job at the LA Times. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know this, but I first was redacting papers from the Boy Scouts and molestation cases. So I was literally like blocking it out, and it was like a terrible job. I had it in my wit's end, after like week 2, but I was still there because I knew what I really wanted to do. I still love technology, and we weren't really covering technology from a standpoint of like a millennial. So I made friends with the editor that had worked there, and I said, hey, I'd love to just get a piece of your mind. I'd love to take you out to coffee, and I'd love to talk about some things that I could do for the paper. And I put together a really, really beautiful deck about why I want to cover technology, specifically apps and gadgets, for the Los Angeles Times. And of course, we were covering, but not in the capacity that I had mentioned in there. I wanted to do video. I wanted to cover Snapchat and Whisper and Tinder, all apps that my old white editors knew nothing about because they weren't using them, and they weren't really that demographic either. So I sold my editor, and since then I was then covering technology for the LA Times, and I did all their videos, and I shot and edited all the pieces, and wow, at that time, there was a lot of red tape, and now I can see why, because I was terrible on camera. I still am, but somehow I got to be here. I'm just kidding. But, I really worked hard to be where I am right now. And so what I'm trying to say here is, like, a lot of times you look at people that you might admire or you want to learn from, and you really need to ask, like, what steps did it take to get to you where you wanted to be? Mm-hmm. For me, there was a direct path, and there were a lot of things around different trajectories that I had to take that didn't really lead me to where I thought I wanted to be, or kind of like where I am now. But I, in a sense, knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know that it would take this path. So fast forward, I was covering technology for the LA Times. And then I was sick of writing about tech, and I wanted to work at a tech company. I didn't want to write about valuations. I wanted to be part of the valuation. And I got a job at a local startup here in LA, and I admired the founder. I thought he was so smart. And for me, the biggest thing is make sure you're working for someone that's smarter than you, because that's the only way you will learn, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was great. I was doing so much. I wore so many hats, as you do at a startup. But unfortunately, I really was not set up for success. I myself, as a leader and as a female, I'm very compassionate, I'm empathetic, and the way that I am in the workplace is respectful. I like to create a safe environment. But at the startup, that wasn't really the case. And, we hear this story so many times where females don't feel like they belong, or they're kicked out, or they don't make it to the top. And I got to see this firsthand. And this was way before the Me Too movement. And I didn't really know there was a support system. This was a little bit around the time of Lean In. But again, I didn't know that I could go to other women to kind of discuss what I was feeling and how I was feeling it. So I would Google different ways to find communities of women in tech. And Google has everything, and I couldn't find really anything in my area or anything that was really remotely interesting to me.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, right? I mean, we can all attest to this. So then I said, well, if it doesn't exist, then I'll create it. And that's how TechSesh really came out. It was important for me to create a community, a sisterhood, where other women in tech feel like they belong, where they can share information, where they can help each other, and maybe even meet their next co-founder.
Yeah. Awesome. I have so many follow-up questions.
I just had so much coffee, so if I was really rambling,
No. It's only 3:30 over by you, right? So you're still right in the middle of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Although it's like it's 11 p.m. When you're a mom, you like wake up super early, and no matter how much coffee you have, it's not enough.
Right. Okay, so you started off like your passion was to give people a voice that didn't have a voice, and then as soon as you like did your first piece on technology, you fell in love with it. What was it about technology that you were like, no, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I have in the past covered so many different beats. And when it came to technology, it was the one thing that really got me excited. I always joke, everyone in my family, I'm the eldest of 4, is in medicine. They're all doctors. And science is my medicine. It's the one thing that gets me excited. It's the future. It's something that everyone knows about in some regard, in terms of whether it's their phone or their computer. Everything that you do involves technology, and because it's the future, I felt like I'm pushing towards that future in a sense, learning from VCs that are investing in tech, or learning from inventors and creators and being part of that movement, but on the other end. So I call myself a creative technologist.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So then what also, I talked to the part in the beginning about the whole like imposter syndrome. Like, was this like way outside your comfort zone to like, speak publicly about it? Or was it just like, I'm so passionate about it, I just have to talk?
I would say both. So initially, it was overwhelming because I didn't know so much about technology. I didn't have a technology background. But something that's to be said is, in journalism, you don't necessarily you can, but this doesn't really happen where you go learn a specific subject and then become a journalist in that. You just get a job in journalism, and then you oftentimes, let's say you're covering sports, then you'll be moved into the business section. So then you become a really, really well-informed person in that subject. So when technology was handed to me at first, I'm like, oh my God, I don't really know anything about this. But also, I was so passionate that like every second that I had available, it would be researching, asking questions, going to seminars, reading. And I really, really had to inform myself, because there's a difference between being informed and being authentic and then just faking it till you make it. I don't agree with that fake it till you make it. I think there's a difference between knowing your value and owning your value. And you can own your value when you're an expert in that subject, whether or not you have been to school for it, because school doesn't make you an expert in something, but the research that you do, if at the end of the day you feel comfortable, that's how you can own it.
Absolutely. It's probably one of those things too, where, you learn by teaching. And
Yes.
If you're about to teach somebody, you better learn it deeply so that you can explain it to them better, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
what about just even the part about, no matter what you're talking about, being on camera on national TV, what was it that was in you, or what inspired you to even do that in the first place?
So this is the thing. When it comes to mainstream media covering technology, it was usually, a certain demographic of reporters that were covering the subject. And even though at that time, maybe years ago, like 10 years ago, many people didn't think that women care about this, we're the ones with purchasing power. So if I am being told news about technology, I want to hear it from a female angle, and I want to hear it in regular terms, not dumbed down, but in regular terms where it tells me why it's important and why I should care. So for me, I felt like it was my duty to come and tell these people that are watching, this is technology that can help you save money. This is technology that can help you shed 5 hours out of your day. So you can see when I start talking about it, I get very excited. But the reason really was because I felt like there wasn't really someone out there explaining it to me where I would care about it and not felt like I was being told what to do or what to listen to. In a sense, we're having a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I've actually even had the experience where some of the, tech meetups that I've been to, I feel like people like talk like extra technically on purpose to make themselves seem smarter and that sort of a thing. And I've like been in a circle where everybody's like, yeah, and I could like look around like, no, nobody knows what that person's talking about. You know what I mean?
It's changing. Even, I went to school for journalism, and what I learned in school, I wasn't able to apply that to what I'm doing right now. Yes, when I was writing for a newspaper, but now as we're all writing blogs and we're all writing captions that are only 140 characters for Twitter, that conversational understanding, that's what's important, not textbook speak.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm grab some water. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. I've actually even found in my career, I've always been better at coding than talking about code. I've always been better at like sitting in front of the computer and doing what I have to do as opposed to like explaining something to like my coworker or boss or something like that. Like as I, progressed, like that's way, way better now, but like especially in the beginning of my career. And so when I hear like, when I do interviews and I hear young people come in and they can talk technically with me, I'm like, ooh, like you're ahead of where I started. Like, that's so good.
Something needs to be taught or learned. And I think that we're seeing this more and more because if you can't explain what you're doing, then we won't be able to execute.
Right.
And so again, what I do a lot with companies is we consult with really big tech companies, small companies, startups that are really great at creating product, and they have their product roadmap, but they can't explain to their users at the end of the day why they should download the app or why they should buy X, Y, and Z. So that's where we come in, and we're doing this storytelling. So at the end of the day, it's that telling, that storytelling, that conversation, that explanation that really gets you from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need both sides. We need you and we need me that can also explain it as well.
Yeah, and I think, I can't even tell you like how super important it is for a young girl to turn on the TV and see you explaining tech to them. Like that's super, super important. I have this statistic here that women in Western countries use the internet 17% more than their male counterparts. They are also a majority of the owners of tech devices, which is what you were saying. Yet they're not the creators of these technologies. They're not the speakers about these technologies and that sort of a thing. So I think a lot of it comes down to what we see as little girls. Who's doing this? Who's capable of doing this? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's part of my mission. We need more women in tech. We need more diversity in tech. And if all these products, like you said, are getting pink slapped onto them and these companies are expecting us to just purchase them because there's pink on it and that's their marketing strategy, that's wrong.
Yep.
There are seats at the table and we need to be taking those seats in order for it to make sense, for it to all fit together so that we have a say in what we're buying and we're not just being sold to it because that's the only thing that exists. And even more so, besides products, these are the change makers of our future. This is the future we need to invest in to make sure that, we do move along when it comes to technology and science and STEM. And for me, I never had a mentor. So it's funny when you say...
I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
Yeah, you're saying that these girls are Googling. Google is my mentor.
Yeah.
And we can be really critical of people who don't have mentors, and sometimes it's difficult to find one, and someone can be your mentor, but maybe you're not getting what you need out of it. So I think what's really important is that, going forward, we need to all be held accountable and find ways that we can find mentorship and other things. And so, like I said, Google, like I found so many resources in Google. There's a way where you can learn how to have the right conversation, how to send that perfect email to craft up to send to someone who you want to be your your mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. I take it you didn't have a mentor when you were first starting. Have you since had a mentor?
So I have not. I've met a lot of amazing people along the way. And I think really maybe you could call this person a mentor. When I was in journalism, I had a mentor then who really, really pushed me to continue going forward. But we kind of lost touch. This was a long time ago, and this was getting from from being a reporter on a Farsi station to going to CNN. So this person was really helpful in that field, like saying the first time I met you, I really believed in you. And then sometimes I get caught off guard and just pushed me to go further. But it's been a while since we chatted, but I actually should reach back to him. But all in all, I never had a mentor. But for me, just finding people to have conversations with, working and consulting with people that are smarter and know more and asking questions. In a sense, I'm getting a little bit of mentorship with everyone that I meet.
I feel the exact same way. I don't have like a single mentor, but I listen intently to a lot of really smart people. And it's always been really important to me to have a job where there's somebody in the company that can teach me something and can help me grow and that sort of a thing. Because I've done the thing where I was just, the only one in the company, and everything I was learning, I was teaching myself. But to be able to have somebody that's like so much smarter than you that you can go to and say like, yeah, I did this, but is it the best way? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that sort of a thing.
And speaking of mentors, for anyone who's listening right now, I really, really hope that if you're working at a company, that's really a great way to find a mentor. And I'm not talking about your peers, because peer-to-peer mentorship is great. I have best friends that I do call mentors as well, but that's not the same thing as like a real invested mentor. So what I would do, I always look up, higher up, to the person that you admire, to the person who you wish one day you can have their job or follow their footsteps, and make them your mentor. And when you are seeking mentorship, it's really equally important to make sure that you are using their time wisely, because people that are in those positions of power that you want to be your mentor are busy. So you want to make sure you're offering something them as well. So Let's say they just posted something on LinkedIn. Make sure you're sharing it. Make sure you're liking it. Make sure that you're showing that you're invested in their success, just as how you want them to be invested in your success and be your mentor.
That's such great advice. Yeah, for sure. I've heard the thing about giving back to your mentor and offering them something as well, but you're the first person who like even mentioned something like that. Like that's such a great way to show support, whatever it is. If they get a promotion, if something at their company happens, like, anything like that, making sure that you're being a cheerleader for them too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a street. You can't expect someone to give, and then you do nothing in return.
Right.
That wouldn't be a fair world either.
Right. So taking it back to earlier in your career where you were switching into like the tech realm, did you, in any of the companies coming up, you don't have to be specific about which ones or anything like that, but did you find any like pushback or like heavy doubt and stuff like that? Yeah.
In every room that I've been in, there has always been doubt. There have always been questions. And I'm really good at listening to my intuition. I'm really good at reading the room. It's something that, in a sense, brings on fear. Because when people are questioning you, then you question yourself and you're fearful. And that fear is what doesn't allow you to go to your next step. So for me, what's really important is making sure that your opinion is the most important. And like I said, I've been doing this now for 12 years, and I still get so many questions like, oh, you cover tech, or like what, so many questions. It doesn't matter, and we're not here to have a pity party. We're here to embrace being a female in this position, I think we really have an advantage. No matter what people say, I think we have an advantage of being a female in the tech space. Yes, the numbers are low, but we need to change that, and there's conversation around that. But what I think is really important is to make sure that, like I said, you are listening to yourself, you're owning your value, and even when you feel like people are doubting you, you just shove that aside and look at the what you're going towards, your goal.
Yeah, definitely. So did you along the way have anybody at all, like not even a mentor, but anybody that you worked with or a boss or anything that was like advocating for you in any way? Or were you totally just like alone?
So at every job, I've had advocates and I've had people that didn't believe in me. The first time I had someone really believe in me is the editor at the LA Times that really said, wow, you took the time to do your research. You came in here with a PowerPoint of what you want to do for the Times. And she's the first person that believed in me. And that took me all the way here.
Wow. Wow. And that was how far into your career?
That was 6 years ago.
Okay, wow. So halfway through your career before somebody played. Oh, gosh. Well, it's so nice to be appreciated, right? I mean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I'm lucky now. I have my husband who's my biggest cheerleader. I've had a lot of battles dating before my husband, and there were a lot of men that were intimidated by my success or intimidated by what I wanted to accomplish. But my husband, Michael, has been amazing. And now I know I have a business partner in him and a life partner. So I really want women who are dating or thinking about it or in relationships to realize that your partner is also a really big investment. And if they're not invested in your wants and desires and seeing you succeed, then it's not going to work out.
I know when my friends have like significant others that are just like their biggest cheerleaders especially with their professional career, I'm like, oh, he's the one. Keep it.
True. Times are changing. Women are outperforming men, even when it comes to salary. This is slowly happening, and it could be a really big buzzkill and an ego thing for men. So you want to make sure that the person you're dating is your biggest cheerleader. That this person is really helping you take the next step and challenging you.
Yeah.
But yeah, along the way, I've had so much red tape. I've had so many no's. I've had so many doors slammed in my face. But I always knew what was important to me. And I knew if I gave up, then I wouldn't get to where I want to be. Of course, there are days where I'm like, oh my God, like this is terrible. Like when COVID hit, all my speaking engagements were canceled.
Right.
And a lot of my partnerships and a lot of consulting gigs because brands didn't know their next move, right? And for me, it's always, and I'm taking it a different path, but even right now, for everyone else watching, right now is a really good time to reinvent yourself. And when there's forks in the road, take that fork, take that turn, and try different things out, but don't give up.
Yeah.
Because if you give up, you'll never know where you can be. And if I would have given up, I would have given up a long time ago, and I wouldn't have imagined carving this career.
Right. Plus, you have to even kind of think like, if I can't do it, then who can? And you realize you're part of. Yeah. Right. And you're part of paving the way for other people to do it too. So.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's a great segue actually into telling us a little bit more about TechSesh and like what you do with that company.
Sorry. Wow. I'm so thirsty. I try to drink like 3 of these a day.
Good for you.
3. We're almost there.
Nice.
So TechSesh really was first a passion project because, like I said, I couldn't find a sisterhood. I couldn't really find a community where I can find other like-minded women in tech who may or may not have had a tech background. So I started TechSesh really for a sense of community, and then it turned more into a blog. And slowly we started doing events. So the events are really great because this is where I said you can meet your next co-founder. This is where you're going to learn how to negotiate your salary. This is where you're going to learn how to give back to your mentor as well to make sure that you're performing the way that you should so that the mentor also performs the way where it's benefiting you as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of events, content, but of course with COVID we had to do a halt. And now we're really working on figuring out if we're going to continue doing more digital events or speaking engagements, through Zoom, or just now that things are getting a little bit better, to do these events in person again.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you still do like consulting for like network TV, like
Yeah. I'm on air on CBS every Thursday, so we're still doing this through Zoom, and we're trying to keep it kosher. We have to keep by the standards and make sure everyone's safe, and that we're doing our job to make sure that we're all protected. But there has been a lot of ups and downs, and during COVID, we've really been reevaluating how can we show up for our community, and even also with the Black Lives Matter, what we did as Tech Sesh as a whole. Part of our mission was making sure that there's diversity in tech. We always talked about women, but we also talked about, women of color, about women in general. We need women, but then we also need different types of women in technology. And if you can't be it, you can't see it. There is bias a lot of times, whenever you're applying to a job, there are algorithms in place that a lot of names may or may not be seen, or whatever it is with the technology. And maybe HR wasn't aware, or whatever it is. So for us, it was really important during this time, thinking about how can we support our community. And we created a sheet where Black women of color in technology can input their name, whether they're already employed or looking for a job or are looking for an internship, or whatever it is, to share this around with different tech companies, to make sure that they're being seen, to make sure they're being heard, to make sure that people know about them, to make sure they're getting promoted and hired. So a lot of what we do is community outreach. We're making sure that we're doing our part, because every little bit really helps.
Yeah. Even like one thing that I would love to incorporate into what we're doing with the kids is, helping them learn how to write a resume, helping them, do practice interviews and that sort of a thing, and be able to give feedback and say, what, if I was your hiring manager, I would say you need a little bit more education this way, or whatever it is, just to be able to close that gap a little bit, because you're right, it's not just women, it's just diversity in general. So what's a day in the life for you? Well, I guess it's probably very different than before COVID and after COVID, right?
Yes. So I'm locked indoors all day.
Yeah.
It's been really difficult. It was very challenging, but we're making it work, just like everything. I'm really lucky that, I do have that sort of job where I can do things from home, because some people can. I'm really lucky that I do still have a job. A lot of people right now, are unemployed. So at the end of the day, you have to keep that in mind. In the mornings, I wake up at 6 a.m., 6:15, exhausted, because I sleep at 12, sometimes 12:30. And I'm someone that loves my sleep. But ever since, I had my son, it's just not enough.
Right.
But I have to really be good at blocking my time. I have to be really good at making sure that I get some me time, because, for me, my sanity is very important. If I can't be sane, I won't be able to be good at my job. I won't be able to be a good wife or a good mom. In the mornings I wake up and I'm in the bathroom and my son's just opening the door, So I make sure when he naps at 9:30 that I do a 30-minute workout, because I need to just get that sweat in and have 30 minutes alone to myself. But when it comes to day to day, every day is different. I know on Thursdays that my CBS is being shot that day. Well, actually, it's shot on Wednesday. So Wednesdays are my days where I'm really doing all the segments. And then Tuesdays, I'm prepping for it. Mondays, I'm figuring out what should we talk about. I'm working with different brands. So sometimes, videos are due. Sometimes social copy is due for the brand. So it's different all the time, which is really exciting, because no 2 days are the same. But that just means writing everything out is very important for me. For someone who works in tech, I need to still write my notes out.
Right, for sure. Do you get other gigs too, or is it just that one standing one?
No, so I do other gigs too. So,
Yeah.
I am constantly pitching. I'm getting pitched. And there's something always happening. So like I said before, there are a lot of great people out there, great women that are doing great things. So we've been doing a lot of social media for women in tech because I want to make sure that they're being seen and heard. So we're doing a strategy for women in tech. Who don't necessarily have a large following, but we want to make sure that they do and that they're sitting on different panels and stages and telling their stories as well. Mm-hmm. So I've been getting a lot of inquiries about that now that things are getting better and budgets are coming into place again. Doing a lot of social media and strategy for tech companies. And I just forgot your question. Sorry.
Just about what if you got other gigs outside of just your standing one.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I have clients that I work with on like a year term. So there's different clients there, and then I have CBS, that's for sure. And I'm also every week, we have blogs to put out. We have employees that we're working on content. We're figuring out what's our next move in terms of tech sesh and a membership. So CBS is the one thing that is every Wednesday when it comes to on-air stuff. But then once in a while, we get like 3 different channels wanting us to come on air that week as well. So You never know what to expect. So one day I wake up, I check my phone, and then I get a call from Inside Edition, and they want me on in 2 hours.
Oh my God, you're like, hair and makeup. Yeah, that's right, I'm home.
I hair and makeup recently. But yeah, you really never know what to expect. So you just have to always be ready.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. Cool. So I have questions more kind of about the community that you've built with Tech Sesh. I know, having Jersey Shore Women in Tech and being able to like hear the perspectives of so many different women in technology has been like so eye-opening for me. Like everybody has like completely different experiences, and even reactions to those experiences and outcomes from those experiences, So one of the statistics that I have here is that 56% of women in technology leave the field mid-career, citing weak management support, lack of opportunity, lack of work-life balance as like the top reasons. So do you find, with the women that you've kind of been able to build a community with, do you see this as getting better, worse, staying the same? Like what experiences have you heard and seen?
For me, it's been spread out. Of course, you have women who don't know about tech at all because they haven't been exposed to it. So for us, another thing that we're also working on is going to middle schools, because I think at a really young age, that's when we need to expose girls to STEM and technology.
I've heard that middle school is like the sweet spot.
Exactly. It's definitely the sweet spot. We've done some things before and they were really successful. So we're working on how we can do that on a larger scale, especially here in LA. Oftentimes when you ask, what is the biggest job creator, it's Hollywood. And so people aren't really necessarily thinking about technology. And so that's something that I think is very, very important. On one end, people are not aware of technology. On another end, they might have applied to a job and never heard back. And another end, maybe they have a job and they weren't really set up for success, so they leave that. Or maybe they decide to start a family because it's just the next step in their career. So I don't know if it's getting better or worse. Mm-hmm. I think that I would like to say that it's getting a little bit better. But again, it depends on the person. So it's really hard for me to say that. I think at the end of the day, there's more awareness around the fact that we need to educate the younger generations from a younger age. So on that level where we're seeing so much being done to middle school students, high school students, I think it's getting better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's obviously like a lot more support out there. And like you said, with like, Google and YouTube and that sort of thing, even if you don't have somebody like in your life, like you can find somebody, you can find an online group, you can find some kind of support. There's so much more. And let me remind
you, when I was in middle school, high school, I didn't know STEM existed. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what coding was. And it wasn't until, in my career that I'm like, oh, wait, this is an actual thing. And I don't know if it's like my Middle Eastern family where like it's either you're a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist, but I wasn't exposed to it. And I think now it's becoming such a big industry that people are like, oh, this is actually a career you can get into and be successful in and make a difference.
Absolutely. I was, you know, for me, my father was a computer programmer. And so I just knew about it. But if it wasn't for him, I never would have known about it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't something that was like anywhere else in my life or on my radar at all. And, you know, anybody else that I grew up with wouldn't have known either. I think we had like one computer graphics course in high school or whatever. I mean, I'm a little bit older too. So, I mean, we had like typing class or whatever, like that's, you know, that's what it was. But, you know, one of the things that I heard is that, a lot of the schools don't put things in the curriculum that don't help with getting into college. So if technology is not a requirement for getting into college, but math and history are, like that's where the funding is going to go. And so we actually had a woman, Cheryl, that helps do these like smart labs for schools. And I was like, why doesn't every school have a smart lab? It's just insane. Like that's the obvious thing to do. It's like so needed to get kids excited about technology. But it's like if it's not getting them into college, then they're not interested in spending the budget on it. So,
Right.
So then, you know, speaking of work-life balance too, your son is one now, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
one.
So how has that changed for you?
So when I first found out I was pregnant, I was so excited, but I also had like a pit in my stomach because I finally got to a point in my career where I was so excited and it all just came together. You know, I worked so hard for so long and nothing really made me feel like, okay, you're finally where you want to be and it's now time to continue and just grow. And so I knew that, you know, I would come to a halt. And in a sense, when I told people on social media, when I told different companies that I was pregnant, I lost partnerships.
Wow.
And they didn't why, but I was ready to sign some paperwork, on camera stuff to do some tech things. And they're like, oh, we decided to go a different direction. I also lost like, this is stupid, but I lost 5,000 followers on Instagram. And so it really made me reevaluate, you know, who is this audience that I'm really going towards? And it was all men that I lost. So I'm like, you know what? It's probably a better thing because I'm really focusing on women. And that's why, again, like for me, it's so important to speak to other women in tech who might be moms later on or are going to be in relationships or get married or are in relationships to make sure that like we're a community talking about this together. And there are things that we can share with one another to help each other out. And it has been the biggest, best blessing ever. Having my son really has it's so much joy. It's the best thing that has ever happened to me. But at that time, it was so sad for me because I'm like, well, I worked so hard and now it's getting all taken away from me. And so that wasn't the case. But then if you think about it, you know, when you're pregnant, you're exhausted. So I didn't have the same energy that I did before I was pregnant in the same work. So, you know, losing the energy, losing the followers, losing the brand partnerships, losing the consulting gigs, not being able to fly. In the end, I then focused more on baby tech. And so there's things that I lost, things that I've gained. And it's beautiful. I have a son now. I'm so lucky that I can work from home and continue to inspire other women who want to take a trajectory in tech to say, hey, you could be a mom and you can be in tech and you can be an entrepreneur and you can have everything that you want as long as you plan and work hard.
That's awesome. Yeah, baby tech is huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're on that. It's been a while. But there are so many great things that have helped me. Like the Snoo, for example, was this baby carriage where I would put my son in and it would rock him to sleep so I wouldn't actually physically have to do that. It was like a night nurse and like a second hand for you.
Wow. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it, you know, that because of you know, being tired and not being able to fly and like everything that you kind of lost was maybe would have been too much for you anyway. And so it kind of worked out. And then, like you said, being able to shift your focus now and, you know, obviously like we can reinvent ourselves all the time and, you know, decide to
2020 is all about pivoting.
Yeah. I mean, every year. Really, I mean, like, everybody should always do what they're passionate about and what fits into their lifestyle. And so if your passions change and your lifestyle change, then, change whatever else you need to do to fit into that, and especially if you're smart, you're capable, you have it in you to get things done and get what you want. You're not shy sitting back saying, oh, I hope, somebody come and finds me, if you're a go-getter, you're going to figure it out. So that's great. That's really great. I'm sure, because I know a lot of, women who in technology or male-dominated fields, I know are nervous about getting pregnant for the first time, because you really do feel like you're on this upward trajectory. Yeah, you're like a rocket ship, and then all of a sudden it has to come to a halt.
Yeah, and I know we have to end soon, but I'll just tell you a really funny story. So, are you aware of CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas?
Mm-mm. No.
Oh, can you hear?
I can hear.
So this is one of the biggest tech shows. It happens every year. It's like nerd mecca. It's the who's who of tech. So I've been going every year for about 9 years now. And really, like, this is where the big tech companies make announcements, where they're releasing new products. So really, really great consumer electronics show. And I remember I went 2 years ago when I was pregnant. And, a lot of times it's a stereotype that people in technology are super geeky. And so out of like the 300,000 people that were there, I stood out like an alien for having a belly. And I swear I was the only pregnant person there. And people came up to me and they're like, what are you doing here? Whoa, what's that? Like, how did that happen? And for me, I'm just, oh my God, is this really happening right now? Like, can I not go and do my job being pregnant?
Wow.
So for me, that was really eye-opening. But again, all I could do was chuckle if this person didn't know how that happened.
You're like, you're really smart in technology, but you don't understand how making babies works. Cool.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, you'll have things happen along the way, but you just can laugh and you smile and why you're there, and they see themselves.
Yeah. And Allison actually brings up a point. She has about a 1-year-old too. I think she just turned one a little while ago, but just the fear of telling your boss, like,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, listen, here's the thing, okay? My 100% now is not the same 100% pre-baby.
Yeah.
But it's like 1,000% because I'm doing the best that I can with the limited time that I have now.
Right.
And when you're pregnant, you, like I said, it's not a secret. You don't have the same energy that you had. You're exhausted. You want to take like a nap. And then once you have the baby, it's not always like this, but like I'm the main caregiver, especially because I'm working from home now and my husband goes into the office. So I have to plan my life around him. And so if I had a boss asking me to send something at like 10 a.m., I would have to make sure that I got up at like 6 a.m. to make sure everything's done, including feeding the baby and making sure he goes down for his nap and making sure the email looks good, that the presentation looks good. So it's a lot of work from our moms. And sometimes we get the short end of the stick, which is, again, why you need to have a really good partner. But it is tough if you're having a boss and telling them, hey, by the way, I'm pregnant. Hopefully, the institutions are changing and people are more understanding, even if they don't have children themselves. But slowly, as we have these conversations, people need to be understanding of like what we all go through.
Definitely. I do want to, you have a hard stop in about 15 minutes, right? Okay. I do want to open it up for questions because I'm hogging you. And I know other people want to have questions. I'll give it a little bit just because there's a little bit of a delay.
Sure.
But let's see if we get anything in. You guys are probably typing, but I can't see yet because of the delay. But yeah, I even feel bad for, the women during this COVID thing that have to be home all day now with their kids and work a 40-hour job. Like, that's insane.
And I'm a little traditional. Like, I like to have dinner ready because, how much can we eat out, right? So you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're taking care of the baby, you're taking care of business. Like, every day feels like an eternity. But then the week goes by so fast.
That's right. It must feel like Groundhog Day. You know what I mean? It's just like you just
vacation. I think it should be mandatory for, all women to like take a break together.
Yeah. All right. Well, I see questions. I actually have YouTube open so I can see questions ahead of time. So one of the questions are, what are your favorite tech stories you've reported on?
Oh, wow. So, I will say, back when I was reporting at CNBC, I covered a story on how women are not asking for as much as men, slash, even asking for funding. So that was a long time ago. That was about like 9 years ago. And the stats were incredible, where the reason was women were not asking because they were afraid to ask.
Yeah.
And for me, looking at these stories now and speaking to VCs and, a lot of people that I know that have been funded, like now there are actual VCs that are solely investing in women. And that
Yep.
makes me so happy. That's such a success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are even companies that might be like geared towards women. And so like a man might not necessarily like feel like they have anything to contribute as a VC. So yeah, that's absolutely been huge. That's awesome.
And then on that end, I will say in the news, we've seen a lot of these, we've seen a lot of stories of female entrepreneurs and CEOs getting canceled. And that has been a little disheartening for me because they've been canceled for the right reasons, but I'm wondering if they were men, if that would have happened to them too. Because there's a lot of finger pointing at females recently, but this never came up for men. And so again, now we're like taking a step back where we're excited for women to take these leadership positions. But then I don't know. It's like this juxtaposition. Things have been shifting a little bit too. I need to do more research, but I've been seeing a lot of headlines where like this person had to step down, or was forced to step down, or this or that. And again, probably for the right reasons. But where are these men? Why am I only reading stories of women?
Right. If you end up doing a blog post about it, definitely share it with us if you do more research about it, because that's interesting. For some, are we held to a higher standard? Like, what is it,
Right.
So another question, did you ever have a moment where you thought about quitting, and what kept you going?
Oh my God. So many times. So many times. Okay, this is it. I don't think there's anywhere else to go from here, or I did something wrong, or something didn't really plan out. And, it's during those dark spots, during those weak moments where you can't make decisions. You can't decide to quit when you're at your weakest moment. You need to step aside and figure out, okay, well, let's say I did quit. What am I going to do? Am I quitting for the right reason, or is it something that I can come back on? And here's something that's really, really important. All the failures that I've had throughout my trajectory in my career are what is exactly what allowed me to take those steps to get to where I am now. So if you're not failing, you're not doing it right. And you need to fail in order to be able to pick yourself up and make sure you're doing it the way you want and getting what you want.
Yeah, and grow and learn and for sure. Get more clear on what it is that you want and how hard you're willing to fight, that sort of a thing. Absolutely. All right, let's see. Any more questions? Okay, here we go. What would you advise women to do to pivot to tech? What tools or places can they join besides Jersey Shore Women in Tech to get into tech and use their skills for the industry?
Can we read these people's names too so we can say hi?
Judy. Yes, that was Judy.
Hi, Judy. So I don't know if Judy's already, somewhat has her footstep and her toes into tech or not, but General Assembly is really a great way to get courses, and they have online courses, and to kind of figure out what part of tech do I like. Or even another company that does really well is, and I just forgot their name. Wow, this is now mom brain. CompTIA. They're really good at certification. So depends on what you want to do, right?
CompTIA does more of the hardware side, right?
So
Microsoft, right? Like
What was that?
A plus, Microsoft, that sort of a thing, Excel, they
Yeah,
do all those.
they also do like cybersecurity
Right.
certifications. By the way, I'm really getting I'm getting certified in that, and that's really the for me the wave of the future. I think you obviously learning coding and different languages in the tech space is very important. But I think now what we see with all these hacks, cybersecurity is super important, something that's lucrative, something you can do from home. So I really would advise just figuring out, okay, what is something that interests me? And let me just take one general assembly course and see if it's something that I want to continue learning. And from there, take like a 3-month boot camp or an extension course at your local community college and really seeing like this is something that I'm excited in. This is something I'm going to pursue.
I think that's the big key is, are you passionate about it?
Yeah.
Because if you're passionate about it, it's going to show. I've interviewed a lot of kids that have come out of boot camps. And the ones that really stand out are the ones that didn't just do the curriculum, like their resume isn't just their projects that they did in school. It's going above and beyond, like, what can I do to improve upon this? What can I do, like my own project and that sort of a thing. But that you can't do that if you're forcing yourself to do it because you think, I want to be in tech, but I don't really want to go that route or whatever it is.
No, because listen, being in tech is not easy. There's so much competition now, and mostly a lot of people that are in tech are super smart. And if you don't have the same passion that someone else does that's also as smart as you, and you're lacking the passion, then you're not going to even get that job. So you're just wasting your time. Also, a lot of these boot camp classes are very expensive.
Yes.
So I would also shop around, and sometimes a lot of schools that offer these courses also promise to help you get a job, and that hasn't been the case for a lot of companies too. So I would do some research in that as well.
For sure. I would actually recommend Flatiron in New York.
Yes.
They happen to teach our tech stack, and so we've had a really good success with people coming out of there.
Okay.
So yeah, really, really like the quality of talent that's coming out of there. The General Assembly, that's been around for a long time. I think Allison might have actually. Did you take courses there, Allison? It's not real time. I can't even ask her, but like in 2 minutes, I'll see a yes from her. But yeah, I agree with those two things. And then also researching how well they are at placing people once they graduate, because having support once you graduate is like really important. I know like at Flatiron, they pretty much have, a recruiter. Oh, Allison said no. They pretty much have a recruiter like on their behalf that like hunts down these companies and, says, okay, we have this graduating class. Here's a list of, 15 resumes that I think like fit your profile. And it's pretty incredible, really, really impressive. Definitely different than it used to be.
And for people who are also looking for jobs right now, I think that this is a really good time to rebrand yourself. And so it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist in technology. I think that right now we should all use the time to make sure that we're updating our resumes, we're updating our LinkedIn, we're updating our bios and our Twitter and our Instagram, because these are our new resumes. Yep. So that's just something that I thought of that is really important to keep in mind at this time.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's see. Any more questions? Danny says, I'm from Flatiron. It's true. All right. That's all the proof we need. I think that's it for questions. And we're right at the end. So as we head out, what would you say would be like one of the biggest pieces of advice that you can give for women that are currently in tech, especially just like based on not just your own personal experience, but, your whole community and, what you've seen from other women and that sort of a thing?
Yes. So my biggest piece of advice is always shoot for the top. Look for an ally, look for a mentor, someone that's in a higher position of power than you, not those people that you go to coffee with, because they're not going to help you get to where you need to be. I think it's really important to make goals for yourself. And I'm not just talking about goals in terms of like finishing this task or, bringing on this project. I'm talking about, goals that are monetary. Saying to yourself, in 5 years from now, I want to make sure I'm getting paid this much. This is what I'm going to do to improve my skills to make sure that I should be getting that much. I think that a lot of times, again, going back to money, a lot of times women don't ask for as much as men. A lot of times women don't even apply to the same job that men are applying to, even when they're qualified. There's been stats where men and women with the same backgrounds, and there's a job for hire, and it says they need like 10 years of experience, and the woman won't apply because she doesn't have those 10 years, but the man still applies. And so really just listening to yourself and knowing that you are as good as you are. And we can never doubt ourselves. Those things that we think make us weird are the things that are going to get us really, really, really help us get noticed and seen. And we should use that to our advantage.
That's so, so true. It was one of the best pieces of advice I got was, again, like having a father that was in technology was like huge for me, because when I was looking at jobs, when I first was ready to start looking for a job, say when I came out of school, but I only got my associates, and I was like, I'm done with school. I want to like be a programmer, And I would see this like long list of like technologies that I needed to know, and I'm like, I know none of this. And my dad said, I have never applied for a job where I fit the description like that. Like, that's insane. Like, if you fit like 2 or 3, go for it. They put that because they're putting out a broad net. You know what I mean? And he always got like very prestigious jobs and that sort of a thing. He worked for Princeton University, Nabisco, like all this stuff. And so that was a huge lesson for me that I got before I even started my career.
Wow. So that's great advice.
Yeah.
We all need a father figure like that, And it starts at home. Confidence starts at home.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like I'm such an advocate for equal opportunity education and the mentorship that goes along with it. Not just like putting kids in front of a computer, but like, showing them what the template is, and, telling them what's out there so that they have just even an idea. You know what I mean? So, but yes. So thank you, Jessica, so much. You are so amazing. You are our hero.
Thank you. And if you guys want to reach out to me, please feel free. You can email me or follow me on social, and we can have a conversation on there. Just slide into the direct messages at Jessica Naziri. And then if you want to check out our event or our blog, it's techsesh.co.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Please stay in touch. We want to read and see everything that you're doing. So,
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.